Welcome to the wonderful world of Gaussian Splats and some other AI tools, and how Rotor Studios is using them in their creation of automotive content. When I come to the US, it's very unusual in most other countries in the world to have prescription pharmaceutical advertising. So when I come here, I'm always intrigued by the pharmaceutical ads. Generally, they have a person or a couple, they're super happy and content because they've got the drug that's fixed the illness and made things better. And that's fine, a lot of ads work that way. But about halfway through, you hit the disclaimers. And it absolutely does my head in. There is like the risk of all this stuff that can go wrong. And so I thought, that's what I need. I need some disclaimers in my presentation, but I'm not going to put them at the end, and they are certainly not going to take half the presentation, so I'm going to rip through them quickly. I'm going to put them up front, and here they are. We've defined Gaussian Splats as AI adjacent. Now, there'll be people in the audience and people watching this video later that will say they may not agree with it. But we like to use the AI buzzword, brings them all together, and I think there's ins of an argument in there to say that. One thing that may disappoint people is that this is not a presentation about Gaussian Splats plus UE for real-time interactive experiences. It's about how we're using it for imagery creation. It will get there, and we are super excited about being able to use it in real-time experiences. But certainly Rotor hasn't found that yet, that it quite works. The quality is quite there, the runtime is quite there. So it's not about that, it is about imagery creation. It's also not, and this is going to be very self-evident for those of you who are across AI at all, it is not a complete overview of AI uses in the industry. This space is moving so quickly, as you would all be aware. This is just a snapshot of case studies of what Rotor Studios are doing in the space. I mean, there's new AI tools being dropped all the time. It's also not a technical paper. I am not a software developer. Please don't ask me too many technical questions. You're probably not going to like the answer because I probably just don't know it. So it's not a technical paper. It's more about the uses and benefits that we are finding in this space. Right. It's also not focused on PCG, the Procedural Content Generation tool in Unreal Engine, which is fabulous, and we use it, and we've done projects with it. And I think there was a talk actually this morning. I think Chris Murphy from Epic, another Australian, talked about it. I didn't see it, but I'm sure it was impressive. It's a great tool. It's just not the subject of today's presentation. The bottom bit, and I've kind of alluded to this, is I'm not going to go into a lot of detail around the process and tools, and there's three reasons for that. One's commercial. Rotor has done a lot of investment. We see this, and I'm going to use it up front, it's a game changer. We see it as a bit of a game changer in this space. We've been super interested in it for about 12 months. We've done a lot of work on it to fine-tune processes and develop tools within the workflow, and so we're going to try and keep a hold of the detail around that because we feel like it gives us a bit of a business advantage. The second one is, again, I've alluded to it, the rate of change. This thing's moving so quickly. Actually, it was pretty hard to do this presentation because we started writing it, piecing it together 6 weeks ago. And in that 6 weeks, the process has been refined and polished. So we're constantly updating it. The third thing, and this is my superpower, is a lack of technical knowledge. So you could ask me, and even if I wanted to tell you exactly what it was, I don't know. So Lukey and the tech team, when they send me off or when I go off to do these presentations, I'm sure they breathe a sigh of relief and go, even if he wanted to tell them stuff, he can't. So there we go. So anyway, disclaimers out of the way. Then before we get into it, who are Rotor Studios? What are these guys doing here talking about this stuff? We are basically a company that is involved with anything to do with computer graphics for marketing with a particular focus on automotive. Automotive is about 95% of our business. And that includes, as I've said, creating content and also creating real-time experiences, interactive experiences. So we do a lot of work in the CAD preparation space. We've been doing that for many years. It's kind of dry, but very, very important in this area. More dry stuff. We're across the back-end configuration management. That CME bit is actually something we've developed. We call it our configuration management engine. That's very important. If you're configuring a complex product like a vehicle with all its variations, and we do the accessories as well. So that's lots of different options. You need business logic, you need configuration management to tell you what goes with what, and very importantly, what doesn't go with what. Lots of other stuff there. We're doing a bunch of stuff in XR, virtual reality, augmented reality. We've been doing stuff lately, again, with Google in the augmented reality space, which has been really interesting. We've just finished a couple of projects for Apple Vision Pro, which have gone well. A lot of the stuff I can't show and talk about because, you know, the deal, it's not gone to the public yet. The clients don't want you to show it, understandably. So we kind of cover everything, all the way to outputting these experience modules. Now, we're in Australia, we're a long way from everywhere, unless you're a Kiwi, we're close to you guys. But we've done a bunch of work, and over the years, and this is literally just a snapshot. I said to the guys, whack up a map just to give an idea, so we work all over the place. So that's what we've done in the automotive space over the years. Here's a bit of a show reel. I've turned the music off, so you're going to have to listen to me talk at you while you look at the pictures. So again, based in Sydney, Australia. We do, as I said, experiential stuff and content. We do a lot of global vehicle launches, videos, stills. The experiential stuff is configurators. We do online configurators. We do dealership configurators, VR, AR. I think one of the interesting things is we have always run a dual pipeline. We have historically run Unreal Engine to do the interactive experiential stuff, configurators and whatnot. And we've used GPU-assisted renderers like Octane to put out the high-quality content. Well, that's changing. We are in the process, and we'll have soon fully moved everything to Unreal Engine. Because the great news is the good folks at Epic have lifted the quality of it over the years, that we find it absolutely comparable in outputting high-quality content. And it's wonderful to have a single pipeline where you've got one digital twin to be able to work in both spaces. So that's what we're doing. And what's driving it? What's driving the absolute need to get this efficiency is a greater and greater need for configuration and personalisation. Before I go on to that, we're about 100 people. We've got, you know, we do a lot of work in Asia, so we've got we've got Japanese and Chinese speakers as well, which can be helpful at times. We think we're a good size. We've got 4 partners that work in the business. I'm one of them. And they all work in the business, and we think it keeps us agile because we can really quickly make decisions on this emerging tech and stuff we think is going to have an impact, yet big enough to work on bigger projects across the range of vehicles. So that's us. And I pulled this slide out of another presentation because I thought it was interesting. It speaks to the use of Unreal Engine, and it speaks, I think, as well to how you would want to use AI and that AI adjacent tool with your content creation. This is actually a snapshot of Rotor Studios. We've been around for 25 plus years. We actually started off as a live action production company. We always had our own post-production. But if we got one thing right in business, we've got a lot of things wrong, but if we got one thing right, it was understanding that for automotive marketing content, CG was going to be a winner. So we got into that in the early 2000s, and you see that nice indicative green line? That is the content requirement that has grown over the last 15 years. So you started off doing single vehicles in CG. Oh, now we can do all the grades and all the colours. Oh, now we can add accessories. And so the amount of content you end up needing to create has gone like that. It's just become massively increased. But I tell you what hasn't increased. The time hasn't increased. This is not the OEM's fault. This is not the client's fault. They basically They have their finished, they're in a competitive market too. So they basically have their approved CAD engineering model gets finished at this date. And they are working just in time because they've got other models going through. And then when they launch the car, hits at that date. And it's very difficult. They can't just go, oh, well, we need more time to make more marketing content. Let's stretch it out. It doesn't happen. They are driven by their own rhythms, and that time is not going to change. So I haven't got any more time to make all this extra content. And the other thing, and I'm sure if there's other CG vendors and agencies here, they will absolutely be nodding to this, the budgets aren't increasing commensurately to the amount of content required. And that's our little orange line down the bottom, right? Yes, there has been more money put towards this, but nowhere near the amount to match the amount of content made. So that is why one of the reasons we are moving fully to Unreal Engine. So this is not a big sell for, of course, we're at an Unreal Engine conference, but that is the reason why we are fully moving into Unreal Engine. And it has an impact on the AI stuff as well. So here we are, turbocharging. I thought I'd throw in turbocharge, that's a nice emotive word. How AI will turbocharge content production and extend boundaries. That's my big sell. And how will it do that? First one is, as I said, we make interactive, configurable experiences. It's fantastic to be able to build an AI virtual assistant that can guide users through those experiences. Now, there's still issues around AI hallucinating and maybe saying the wrong thing, so we're still working through those things. But you can understand the power of it, right? If you're making an interactive experience that provides configuration and choice to a customer, wonderful to have something that can speak in a natural language, is available 24/7, you can train it, it'll give personalised recommendations, it'll work out what you as a customer are interested in and guide you through that. Lots of wins in that, so we're looking at that space. It's also really helpful, and I stress, as an augmentation tool. It's not going to take over UI design, but it will assist with it. Layout assistance, behavioural analysis is really important. It will help you optimise your user experience. So we're looking at that sort of stuff too. This is a dry one, quality assurance, but super important. You're making more stuff. You saw that green line. We're all making much more stuff going out to consumers. You want to make sure it looks right and it is accurate. So no one's got the budget to put more human eyeballs on that. So the way to scale that is to use AI with automation, automated visual comparison, a bunch of other tools. This is a general one. This is not just for us. This is for everybody. Every industry is looking to use agentic AI to automate the things that they can. Remove the dull, maybe not dull, but there's lots of process stuff that AI can assist with. And we're no different to any other company and any other industry out there. Of course, we're looking at that. So that's the other uses of AI. Now I want to, on this slide, I really should have called it visual AI. Now I'm talking about creating the content, creating the visuals. What are the outcomes we're looking for? And you're going to love this because I'm about to say a bunch of really obvious things, but I think it's worth stating. What do we want out of AI? Well, we want to grow production value. We want to use these great tools and we just want to get more for the same dollar. We want to make more stuff. We want to make it cooler. We want to sell to our customers. We want to sell to the client's customers better. That's what we want from it. But we also want to do it faster. You know, that timeline thing I was talking about. So that's what we're trying to get out of it. This is also very, very obvious, but worth stating. The actual imagery itself is made of two components. You've got our product, the car in this case, and you've got the environment. Well, the thing with the product is I don't care what any OEM says about how great a value their vehicle is, and they are, some of them are wonderful value. They are still an expensive product to a consumer. If you're lucky enough to own a home, a car is almost certainly going to be the second most expensive purchase you ever make, and you're going to do it a few times probably in your lifetime. So what does that mean? And it's also a complex product, especially when you look at the configurations and look at the inside and the versions of trim and leathers you can have. There's a lot going on. So it needs to be accurate. And we're particularly focused on that in Australia because we have an entity called the ACCC that absolutely jumps on you. If you present a product and it is inaccurate, there are all sorts of issues with that. So in Australia, even more so than most other places, we're very sensitive to that. It's got to be accurate, it's got to look good, and it's got to have quality. Interestingly, the second thing is often where the issues come for production though. It's the environment. Because if you have a project that requires, especially if you have a project that requires several environments. I've got this thing and we're gonna have the car driving from home and then it's in the city and I want it through the green hills and then it ends up at the beach. It'll look fantastic. It'll be a lifestyle thing and we'll cut away to other things. It'll be fantastic. You've got a bunch of environments to make. And in my experience, and I've been doing this a while, it's often the creation of the environment that stops the project. There's a bunch of people out there, and there's probably a bunch of people in this audience that can make a car look great. It's having to build the environments around it, and the cost and time that takes is often the stopper for the project. And that's where I think some of these AI and AI adjacent tools can be helpful. So that's what's in the product, that's what we're trying to achieve. We know we want high quality, it's an expensive product, we know it's got to be accurate. And this is particularly true of Rotor and no doubt some other companies here. You might go, but does it have to be configurable? I'm not making configurable experiences. I'm just doing one car. There are some we think configurability is absolutely important, not just for personalisation, but once you can configure a car, it gives you two key advantages. The first is geographic. If I can make the content and I can make it for Canada, if I can make the Canadian version of the car, then I can change that version really efficiently and I can make it for Peru. And then I can make it for Indonesia. Then I can make it for somewhere else. So for an OEM, that allows them to, if they want, globalise the production or certainly parts of it. So you can move it around. The second one, that's geographic, that's a geographic advantage. The second one is temporal. Most cars have a life cycle of about 5 to 10 years. And within that 5 to 10 years, every 12 to 18 months, they decide to change the car up. That's how they work. So you've got these, sometimes the changes are quite minor, but every 12 to 18 months, they're changing the car. You know, the headlights change, whatever, the rear light, the tail light might change. But that happens consistently. If you can make it configurable and you don't want to change the creative content, it makes it super efficient to update the vehicle over those 5 to 10 years. So there's lots of reasons why you want this content to be configurable. But that's not to say there's not wonderful advantages in having these personalised experiences. I've just thrown a few stats up there in comments, but I don't think anyone is arguing that if you can give a configurable, personalisable visual experience to your customer, it helps. Not only does it help with conversion of the vehicle, it helps upsell it. Oh, gee, I've got exactly the colour I want, and gee, that grade looks a bit nicer. I think I might buy that. If you can get accessories in there, it helps you sell the OEM's accessories, because that's when you would tend to buy them at the point of purchase. So it helps with the whole selling side of things. And quite frankly, my view is, especially since COVID, especially since the pandemic, it's something that consumers have just come to expect, that if you're making a product, I should be able to see my personalised version of it. So lots of reasons for configuration. What I would say is in all this, and I think I've already alluded to it, is AI will not replace the CG pipeline, but it can absolutely enhance it. Already we are seeing augmentation tools that are being used throughout the industry, and I'm sure a lot of you here have and are using them. First one is ideation, concepting. You know, generative AI is brilliant for that. You can show a lot of stuff. You can put in a proxy CG vehicle to make it more specific. You can work through ideas much more quickly, and we're all seeing that. There's some other just dry stuff here. We're already using it in productions. That's the classic 16:9 ratio. You've shot something for a TV or a computer screen and suddenly someone wants to, we want to put it on socials, we want it on the phone. Now, If you haven't shot it with that in mind, you have to crop in. The beauty of AI is it's still a little bit, has some issues on some of the video footage. It certainly works great on stills, but it's absolutely getting there. It allows you just to add to the scene, top and bottom. Very handy tool, we're already using it. The next one is upresing. Lifting resolution, it's been around forever. Like we've been, oh yeah, we can do that. What AI does to it is put it on steroids. I don't think we are far off being able to get a frame of video, put it through an AI upreser, and get to the sort of visual quality that you can use on a billboard that will sit on the side of a stadium. Now that not only is an efficiency story and a speed story, it also means all your content is open up to more channels. And again, we've been using AI upresing a lot, it's great. AI objects. Again, there's a bit of a specific one, but it's one that I think I quite like. It's a bit dark, but on the left you'll see that's a CG, that's the boot of a RAV4. And it's empty. And so quite understandably, the client wants to fill it with stuff. And we want to show how great this boot is and how much different stuff you can get in there. So traditionally, we would have had to do all that in CG, and which is fine. We would have modelled it all up, lit it, chucked it in. Now AI, we can and have used AI to fill that up very quickly, give the client lots of options. But my favourite is we also put a little doggy in there. We can put in an animate object. Now, there's something wrong with that video, and I've left it in for a particular reason. The little doggy looks cute and real, except for his 3-foot tongue. He's got the world's longest tongue. And I just like it because it talks about how AI hallucinates. It gets 95% of it right and then gives it a foot-long tongue. So we fixed that, and they've used the little doggy. That was great. So they could add a bit of extra life for very little additional production costs. So we put that in. And what that does lead to, and it's not a topic I'm going to get into today, if you can do a dog, you should be able to do a human. And of course you can. Technically, absolutely. You can put people in content using AI, of course. But not today's subject. So there we go. The other thing we do a lot of, and have done a lot of, is we call it reskinning. There's lots of different names for it. You get live action plates, you track over the real vehicle, you put in a CG vehicle. So the background is real, the CG vehicle is now the CG vehicle, you can configure it. It's a great way to produce high quality shots because most of the frame is actually real. So we do a lot of that. Where AI is helpful is that there are AI tools for rotoscoping and background cleanup. And why that is important is that if your original vehicle is of a different shape or size to the vehicle that you want to track over it, you need to be able to clean the background up. So of course the original vehicle doesn't poke through. So very, very helpful. All these things we would call them secondary augmentation tools, but extremely helpful when you're making content. But, and here's the big but, visual AI has limitations, and we've talked about some of them already. You want total accuracy, it's not totally accurate. It does have accuracy issues. And if you want to make a series of shots, it's not even necessarily very consistent. There are inconsistencies in it. There's a struggle with that. And it's difficult to precisely adjust. I want the 40mm lens, but change nothing else, instead of the 50, but change nothing else in the scene. Well, good luck with that. That is going to be tricky. And what is incredibly important, certainly from Rotor's perspective, and I would suggest for everyone's perspective, is you cannot replicate the image versions exactly. And if you can't do that, you can't make it configurable. So CG is going nowhere, which is great. It is needed. It is absolutely needed. And so our answer to this is, of course, a hybrid model. We're going to use AI with CG. Now, we reckon there is 3 basic options to this. The first option is we're going to make everything in AI. We're going to have the environment in AI, and we're going to make the car in AI. Even if you do that, you still need a CG pipeline. Because, hey, guess what? You're making this stuff before the car's launched. The AI doesn't know what it looks like. It's got no reference to it. So you have to train it, of course. And the best way to train it is, and the fastest, and by far the fastest and most efficient way to train it, is use your digital twin and your CG pipeline to spit out a whole bunch of training imagery. Now, you need to do that carefully, and you need to do that on-prem because there are security issues. But if you do that, you can train the AI tool to make your image, make your imagery. But even when it makes it, as we saw with our doggy with the foot-long tongue, it won't be always 100% accurate. So then you need to go back to your digital twins and go, oh, look, the headlight's slightly wrong, or the left headlight's slightly wrong. So you need to match it up. You need to use your CG twin to patch it. That's a pretty fast process, but you still need to do it. So option one, absolutely, you still need CG for that. Option two, which frankly is one that we are using more of. I can't show you specific production stuff. Again, all this stuff for us, and I think it's true to say for most of the industry, has been happening in the last few months. So where we've used it are on projects that haven't gone live yet. This option is a variation of option one. You're using your AI environment, but you're adding a CG car. And that makes it configurable and controllable. And it also gives you some more ability to change things around. So because I can't show you our production stuff, I got the team to just pull together some fully AI shots. I said, just spend a few days, just spit out some driving imagery so we can talk about it. What I think's interesting about it is actually the cars are absolutely not accurate. But the cars are pretty hit and miss from a quality point of view as well. Some look better than others, some look terrible, but the environments look pretty good. And, bearing in mind that you would be grading them more and doing a bit more comping with the environment, the environments work well, even if the cars look a bit fake. So then we come back to this thing of tracking in our CG vehicle. So you can take a fully AI shot, which those are. There's also quality, the resolution. With a lot of these AI tools, you're not going to get massive resolution. I'm sure that will change, and then you've got these other AI up-resing options, so you've got another step to be able to lift them up, but blah, blah. The other thing is with environments, if you're shooting driving footage, the environment's often slightly blurred and out of focus. So you actually do get away with a bit more on the quality side of things because it's not the focus of the shot. It's especially for driving stuff. It's just the environment, not just, but it is the environment, not the key focus. So anyway, there's our driving footage, fully AI. Here is an example of a shot that's an AI-created Camry. AI-assisted tools, we can clean up the background. And there's our CG Yaris. So we can put a vehicle in there. And so that is an example of something that we prepared for this presentation just to go, that's what you can do. And so that then becomes configurable. It's sharper than the AI, the Camry. And, you put an HDRI in there and you can pretty much match the lighting, which is great. The other thing, I've got another example of this that it did make me laugh. We said, maybe we can speed up the tracking side of things if we ask the AI to put tracking markers on it. Let's get them to put tracking markers on the vehicle. What the AI did, and you'll see this, it actually used gaffer tape. It actually went, oh yeah, that's what they do. If you've got a white car, they would put black gaffer tape on that. And that's what it did. Oh yeah, that's, go, hang on. So we could track it. We got our black gaffer tape on there on the AI vehicle. The other thing that's interesting about this shot is that it's a bit close to the centre of the road, but once you've got the CG vehicle in, we could move it across a bit. And it did give us some creative control. There's our AI vehicle. It's right on the centre of the road. So when we initially track it, it's on the centre of the road, but now it's a CG vehicle and we can move it across. It gives us a bit more control, which is good. So, option two, and we're using option two, using a bit of option two. Option three, our AI adjacent tool, our Gaussian Splat, and we love Gaussian Splats, very excited about it. Real scanned environments, It's photorealistic because it's based on photo imagery, and it gives you maximum creative adjustment because now you're building an environment. The environment and the car are both virtual, and you can move a virtual camera around anywhere. So it's a scanned real-world location. It's a very simple shoot. And the splats bit came from, again, there's not a technical, there's great videos on YouTube, there's heaps of stuff. Look it up if you're interested in it technically. But the splats bit, it's kind of a weird name, but the splats bit it's not made from a mesh. It's not a classic CG virtual environment. It's made from these soft, semi-transparent points, splats, if you will. And that's what the technology is. So I'm going to run you through what our workflow is. So because it's a real-world location, you actually treat the pre-production like a live-action shoot because you're actually finding the location. You're looking for a reference, you're on Google, Street View or whatever you're doing. Going back to, again, my background is live action, shooting cars live action. A long time ago, that's what I did a lot of. And I can absolutely guarantee you, there's only so many locations people go to shoot cars. There's not an infinite number of locations. I can tell you every location within 2 hours of Sydney where you would bother to shoot a car. Because there's a bunch, but there's not an infinite amount, right? So everyone's got this stuff. They know where. There's places in the South Island of New Zealand. You know when it's been shot in New Zealand because there's 6 magnificent road spots and everyone uses them. I saw an ad once where I think it was maybe, I'll probably get this wrong, but Ford and GM were both making ads. They were both shooting them in New Zealand, and guess what? They had exactly the same corners. They, shot differently and graded differently. They used the same spots, exactly the same spots. So anyway, pre-production, we go out, we scout the location, and we do a location. Here's the location. We do the sun seeker. This is where the sun's going to be. It's all photographically based, so you have to do the scan at the right time of day. When we're looking this way, that's where the sun needs to be. When we're looking this way, that's where the sun needs to be for the car to look at its best. The really good news is actually capturing the splat. Now, there might be logistics around getting to the location, but the actual capture process is 1 or 2 people, and often it's less than an hour to do it. Usually it's less than an hour. Now, these locations that I'm showing you are ones that we could scan on foot. Now, if you're getting into things like freeways where you can't lock the freeway down, we're working and building, and I'm sure we're not the only company doing this, we're building cheap, simple, cost-effective cameras mounted to a vehicle so you can drive along the freeway and get your splat. But for this handheld stuff and for the quality we want at the moment, these strips tend to be about 50 to 100 metres. That's the section we're building. And then you might go, well, hang on, you're not going to get many shots out of 50 to 100 metres. Well, again, falling back to my live action background, I can absolutely guarantee you when we used to go out and shoot the cars for real, we would run the cars through the same perfect corner against that same lovely background, and we would shoot different angles of it. And when it cuts together, no one is going, oh, hang on, they're driving over this. It looks, because the angles are so different, you're cutting away to other things, it's telling a journey. So it's amazing what you can create in 50 to 100 metres. So anyway, that's our pre-production. We then go, we do the shoot, it's a very simple shoot. We also get an HDRI dome to give us the lighting. We use LiDAR as well. You don't need to use LiDAR. It gives us, we think it gives us some advantages, which I will now talk about. So we make our image set, we do an initial curation, you get rid of the images with sun flare in them and do a bit of a cleanup. You then align and orient the images with LiDAR, it's very helpful. That makes a point cloud and you do another prune. Well, that's a bit of an anomaly. That's not sort of sitting out of the model, so you clean that up as well. We create a sky mask because you will absolutely want to replace the sky once you make the content. And then we do the compute to train the Gaussian splat, and it creates this. Now, I wanted to show this. Of course, it can be any location. It can be a city, an urban location. Why I think this is interesting is this is an organic, there are grasses and trees and bushes, and this would be incredibly difficult to create as a fully CG environment to get that. Even the road is scuffed up and There's lots of stuff that tells you that that is real and photographic, and that is the power of the splat, I think. So that's what we've gone out, we've scouted this location. I've shot on that location 20 years ago. I must have used it 5 times. It's sort of got nice backgrounds and a bit of a run up a hill, and we work out when the lighting looks good and we make our splat. After that, so in that, you can also cull things from that. So we've had locations where it's had a boom gate. We didn't want the boom gate. If you get enough information in there, you can go in and cull out objects. So you can get rid of the boom gate. You're just not locked in to the whole location. Then we go from having created that. The other thing we need to now do is add the CG elements. So we add the car, obviously that's super important, but we actually have to add the driving surface as well, because as I said, the splat is not a mesh. So you cannot drive a polygonal model, our digital twin, our Unreal Engine vehicle. It will not interact with that model because it's made of different things. It's made of splats. So we put in a mesh driving surface, a road. We obviously add our car. The other nice thing is we can add a CG bush in the background to cover something. If there's, so you've got the ability to clean up and tidy up your background as well. So we add that. We then do however many cameras you want. The agency art directors can fine-tune them to their heart's content. You can do all sorts of stuff with it, right? Get it exactly the way the agency and the client wants it to look. We do our lighting, we use our HDRIs to make it feel like it's in the environment, and obviously we can add extra elements as well. And then we go through a classic output render and comp. And bear in mind, we probably don't want to, if we want to make the vehicle configurable, we don't want to comp the vehicle too much. We want it to be CG lit without too many changes to it so we can change it around. It doesn't mean you can't comp in the background. If you've got a shot you love, you can do all your usual visual effects tricks to add extra elements to it. So we do all that. And we end up with an example. Again, I couldn't show you an in-production example, but I wanted to show you the outcome of this. We have our Unreal Engine CG vehicle driving up a Gaussian splat environment, interacting with a pretty bumpy road. Now, this is not a production shot, so we would add some extra elements. We would dirty up the tyres a bit. I don't think it's even got a driver in it. So, and we would grade it up a bit more. There'd be a bunch of stuff we do, right? But you get it. It's photorealistic, and importantly, it can become configurable, which is what we're seeing now, right? Once you've set the shots up, you can make anything out of it, which is where we see as I've said, this is where we see the power of it. So you've done this environment, you've done your videos, you can also use the environment to do high resolution stills. So you've scanned the same environment, you might spend a bit more focus on a particular area so you can do your 360 around it, but it allows you to do a bunch of high quality stills that'll go with your videos. And when I was saying before, we don't think, or we haven't been able to get it to work the way we would like to work it in real-time experiences, we think it is not far away. And when you can do that, that means you can make your videos, you can make your stills, you can do all your content, and then, hate to use the word, and we should think of a different word, but a metaverse-like experience, which is coming. And when you then want to have these rich configurable experiences, it's all the same location. So from a brand point of view, it's incredibly consistent for your product. So there's your, so you get to do stills out of it as well. I'm sure you've all seen this. Comes under different names: project management triangle, the iron triangle, quality, cost and time. You can have it good, you can have it cheap, you can have it fast, but you can only have 2. I honestly believe, and this is why the game changer thing again, I honestly believe that with Gaussian splats and some of these other AI tools, it allows you to provide all 3. The quality is photographic, so it's photoreal. We think it's wonderful. You can do it fast. As I said, the scanning process is hours, if that. The compute, even a high quality compute, if you can throw enough hardware at it, it's going to be days, a few days, maybe a day. That in turn will drive the cost down because it's a pretty cost-effective way to approach things. So this is why we've got a lot of time for this, that it does give you the trinity of things. So, why would an OEM use companies that work in CG to set up the visual AI? And hopefully that's obvious, but hopefully I've made that clear, but let's just go over things. You've got a hybrid workflow, that there is no option that we can see that you do not need a high quality CG pipeline and an absolutely accurate digital twin in all its permutations. Even if you don't use the CG vehicle, you still need the ability to configure the vehicle and make a lot of imagery to train the large language model, the generative AI tool, to output stuff pre-launch, which is the important thing. Now, for those companies that are running a lot of GPUs, because that's in your pipeline, and it's certainly true of Rotor, that's wonderful, because if you're going to train the large language model while the vehicle is under embargo with all the security it deserves, you need to do that on premises. So you need GPUs to do it. Or you need to be incredibly careful and obviously be in very clear communication with your client as to how you're going to do it, but it's absolutely important around security to train it in a way that the imagery of the vehicle pre-launch is not getting out there. The last one it's kind of a more general one, and it's for those companies that, or if you're an OEM and you're working with a company that's been doing this, it's quite warm up here, that has been doing this for a while, they have a lot of information and data. They've got JIRA tickets from 10 years ago. They know what works, and super importantly, they know where the tricks and the problems are. So you've got these companies that have got all this data around the pipeline, and you need that data for AI to train a proper agentic approach to making it more efficient. So that data and that understanding, that intimate understanding of what works and doesn't work in the workflow is very, very important. And you know what? That's it. That's the presentation. That's why we think Gaussian Splats, our AI adjacent and AI tools, are such a great way, if used in conjunction with a powerful tool like Unreal Engine, to deliver content, and I think in not too distant a future, interactive experiences for clients. So if there's any questions, very happy to try and answer them as quickly as possible. If anyone's got a question, please come up to the mic and I'll do my best.